So we move to the chapter 2, which is devoted to strategic planning and development plan. I will be done in 3 points. First one, from strategic planning to development planning, challenge and issues. Second one is about the planning typology. And the third, the tools for development planning. Regarding the first point, strategic plan and national development plan issue and challenge, the main issue here is that the strategic plan initially was meant for corporations, but it's used by not-for-profit organizations and lately by states. So there are some challenges linked to the use of this tool in the public sphere. So we are trying to summarize them by analyzing the challenge linked to the use of the most by the elements of the strategic plan. The first of which is the document itself, the plan, the master document, the plan. It is meant for the couple product market of the company, but for a state, for a country, that document deals with the whole country problematics. So it may be some process that will be much more complex when it is meant for the national development plan. The vision for the corporate or the corporations is the desired position of the company in its sector in the future. But when we move to the national development plan, it's much more beyond that. It's for the well-being of the population in the future. So there is that encompasses much more responsibility for the authorities, for the leader. The missions for the company that is with a very limited scope to its sector of activity. For the national development plan, it encompasses public service missions related to the well-being of population, so which means much more responsibilities. With the element stakeholders in a company, there may be a greater convergence of stakeholders' interest. But within the country, there are numerous factors of potential dissensions, which can be of political nature, ethnic, cultural, and also some difficulties to decide, which may involve need for compromise, high transaction costs, and so on and so on. At the leadership level, also, the problematic seems to be the same. The leadership is oriented towards the future of the enterprises, and for that is really keen on doing all what is possible for the economic and financial performance of the enterprise. But for a country, there are many other parameters that count, that could be of political or in general of political nature. And but the other side, they may be economically and financially suboptimal. So there is a risk of wasting scarce resources due to the complexity of the nature of the leadership at the country level. The planning, it tends to be to address optimal choice. High potential for politically optimal but economically and financially suboptimal choices, and potential unsatisfactory results. Okay, now we move to the typology of planning and design. So there are many criteria that are used to classify the type of planning. Depending on the preponderance or not of the state in the economy, we may have imperative or indicative plan or planning. Depending on number of countries covered by the plan, there may be national, regional, multinational, global plan. Depending on the purpose of the development plan or the economic condition, there may be cyclical or counter-cyclical to deal with the business cycle. There may be some recovery plan and the stabilization plan, which has also to face some conjunctural situation, a development plan, which are for in general for the medium term. The scope of objectives give birth to planning by projects, sectoral planning, macroeconomic or global planning. Depending on the duration of the plan, we may have annual plan, biennial plan, 5-year or additional plan. The tools of planning. The tools of planning respond to the major issue facing plan. What needs to be done? What needs to be covered? What are the constraints of economic, financial, technological, political, environmental type to be taken into account? How much will the plan actions cost? How will they be financed, etc.? So the tools have to respond efficiently to those major issues. The first tool is the foresight, which is the construction of possible scenarios of a country's evolution in the medium and long term to make decisions today and to optimize anticipated internal and external dynamics. The vision resulting from foresight should serve as a goal for all economic and social policies and should be expressed in terms of missions, goals, etc., at the level of each of the sectoral policies and strategies. The scenario. They are the main deliverable of foresight. Each scenario that is selected corresponds to a possible future situation and includes all parameters whose direction of evolution is given in order to serve as a basis for the decisions and actions to be taken. The selected scenario determines the vision and the goals to be achieved. The economic forecast. It consists in estimating the evolution of economic aggregates such as gross domestic product, GDP, inflation rate, employment, etc., on the basis of macroeconomic models linking these aggregates together. It ensures the consistency of the resulting macroeconomic projections. Is still something uncertain. That's why it assigns confidence intervals to estimates of future values to account for uncertainty in policy decision and economic shocks and the resulting chain reactions. The macroeconomic framework is the following tool, and it's used to establish macroeconomic scenarios, assess economic potential, and anticipate uncertainties and shocks that could affect the economy. It is used to draw the short, medium, and long-term trajectory of the economy. It serves for the elaboration of the table of states' financial operations and assess for the medium term the overall incomes and expenses of the central administration and the source of funding of the CAP. The macroeconomic models, they aimed at studying the dynamics of aggregates such as GDP, employment, the price level, using various economic equations. The most commonly used today are computable general equilibrium models, which takes into account practically all the components of the economy, following the example of the theory of general economic equilibrium. The simulations, they consist in modeling a scenario and testing it in order to evaluate the evolution of the variables that structure it. The medium-term expenditure framework, which is a tool for programming state resources that allows policy choices to be placed within the framework of the resources available in the medium term. So that's the end of chapter 2.